This is Dustin Hill from Black Magic Flower Power, and you're listening to Doom Tomb. Can't stop the rock.
This is the Doom Tomb Podcast, the podcast for all things stoner, doom, and sludge. I am your host, Chris, and today we have Marcello from the band Gone Cosmic, based out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And we get into a lot of things. We talk about some food. We also talk about the most important thing, which is music. We talk about some of the venues and some of the festivals that they have in Canada. And, it sounds like such a great place. And let me tell you something. It doesn't matter whether it's Marcello or whether it was Zola from Pink Cocoon. Every time I do an interview with somebody from Canada, they're always so gracious and so kind, and I sincerely appreciate their time. Enough of this talk, enough of the bullshit. Let's get into it. This is Marcello from Gone Cosmic.
I want something good. Lost for the dangerous days. I want it now, I want it good. I got you.
Gone Cosmic, a blood orange scented breeze that bows the trees. Gone Cosmic chases the infinite haze from the skies and puts it right back in your eyes. Groove mining breakdowns become the stuff of legend as the four pieces floor thudding tall kick and hellfire halo holler originates a whole that is far more potent than the sum of its individual elements. So to everybody listening, I think that is one killer bio, and that is just a part of it. The entire bio for this band is on their Facebook page, and I am talking to Marcello from the band Gone Cosmic. How are you today?
Good. I'm great, Chris. How are you?
Oh, doing great, man. I am in Arizona, and it is late morning. I had my coffee, so I'm wired. I had a little bagel with some lox on it and some butter and cream cheese. That was really good. Yeah. So where are you? Where are you?
I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada right now, and it's a good day. We've had rain for the last couple days, and it was a bit gloomy, but now we're looking up. We're looking up, so it's turned around, and I'm loving it.
That's fantastic, man. Now,
Yeah.
I know we're going to get to this. We got this album called Sideways in Time off of Cosmic Artifacts Records. I cannot wait to talk about that, but we got to talk about a few more things before that. Now, Christine Leonard did this fantastic bio on Facebook. Mm-hmm. How do you know her?
So Christine Leonard writes for a local publication called Beetroot magazine, and so they're physical media, but they're also available online, or they put their issues out online as well in digital form. But I've known Christine actually a little bit longer through CJSW, which is our local campus and community radio station. So I met her through the station, and she hosts a show on CJSW. So I hosted a show, and we just kind of got to know each other there. And then Devin and Brett know her through playing in Chrongoblin. She's done a lot of coverage for Chrongoblin, and so we kind of just elevated towards her when we decided that we wanted to release this album. So she's great. She covers all sorts of metal genres, metal bands and genres and stuff like that in Calgary. So she does a good job of supporting the local scene, as well as doing some bigger interviews with some larger acts that come through town.
She sounds like that's somebody to know and somebody to hook up with when you get into Canada. Now, I just want to talk a little bit, and I apologize. I know Abby's not there right now. She's playing in another band with some of the other members. Is that right?
Well, actually, no. It's so Brett and Darty, they play in another band called Chrongoblin. So
yes.
they're playing as part of Sled Island Music Festival as well. So they're down at they're going to be down at Pin Bar, which is like a pinball bar. That they're going to be playing at 1 p.m. So I'm going to be heading down there after the interview here. But so they play in that other band as well. So we have shared members there.
No wonder everything seems so tight. Yeah, now it's all coming together. I fully understand that. And you know what? I get this sound maybe you can help me out. I feel that she's got this sound that has a little bit of from like Coven in a way, the band Coven.
Yeah, Coven. Coven, and she's also been described as kind of having that. I don't know if she's gonna comment on this, but the Janis Joplin raspiness too, and she's just got some insane blues pipes. And
she sure
does.
Can
really belt it. She can really belt it out, and she can hit those high notes. And she's just an incredibly talented vocalist that we're very privileged to have stumbled across. So we're very lucky about that.
The first time I heard the tracks, and thank you so much for sending to me so I could check it out, was it reminded me of, there was a band called Blues Pills. And the first time I heard Devil Man, I was like, I know that I love that voice. Yeah,
we've been described as having a shared sound with the Blues Pills, and for some specific, I guess, some specific points of their sound kind of crosses over with ours. So yeah, that's a very good connection to make, because it has been made on multiple occasions. So and we're honored to be compared to bands like that.
But then you make it your own, because there's different, there are different vocals, there's similarities, but there's differences. But then it's also the musicianship. The things I've been hearing on this album, I know I'll get to it soon, but we'll go over it. But I just got to say, it is, guys, you know what? If you want, just pause this for a minute, go over to Bandcamp, download it, then come back and listen to the rest of this, okay? Let's get through this. I want to talk to you about, I saw this thing on social media about Sled Island. For us people in USA here, what's Sled Island?
The Sled Island is a multi-day music festival that is in Calgary, Alberta. Brings bands in of all sorts of genres. You can go, from doom to folk to hip hop, or even comedy. They have comedy groups they bring in, and so it's multi-day and it's multi-venue as well. So there's music happening all around the city. You can jump on your bike, or you can grab a cab, or you can walk, and you can go explore all sorts of different shows that you might not even be familiar with the band, right? So that's a good thing about Sled Island, is there is some bigger names that are really well known, but they also bring in they do a really good job curating bands that maybe people haven't heard of.
Sure.
And so you can go and be pleasantly surprised. Like every year that I've gone to Sled Island, and it's been quite a few years, is I've always found a new band to love. And there's also been instances where I haven't gone to a show and then, regretted it in the future, because I've discovered the band and then been like, oh man, I really should have gone and seen them when they were here. But Sled Island is a staple of the Calgary music scene, and they do a good job not only supporting the touring musicians that come to town, but also the local bands. They feature a lot of really good local bands, so it's a hell of a festival, and we're glad to be a part of it.
That sounds fantastic. I just love the idea, because sometimes you get a bunch of bands that are all similar, and not that you don't like it, but every once in a while you like a little mix, and to have a mixed bill like that has got to be fantastic to watch.
Yeah, and for sure, we were lucky. Actually, we played on Thursday night with Barn Burner and Torch, which was really a real honor for us. We got to hang out with the guys and watch their shows, and it was a phenomenal time. And there's more music happening today and tomorrow, and tomorrow's the wrap up party and all that. But the last few days have been pretty crazy, trying to balance late nights with work, and I even took Friday off because we sent it a little hard on Thursday. So it's fun. Yeah, sometimes the good times can get away on you, and you just gotta ride that wave. Yeah,
you do, man. And hey, you know what? Speaking of good times, I most of the podcasts I do have a little food discussion. Sometimes it's weird, sometimes it doesn't. It's like I talking to somebody about convenience store hot dogs a while ago. Kind of crazy, but so I saw in one of these posts that there were these monster donuts that were being eaten, and one of them looked like kind of like an Easter donut that she was chowing down on. Where were those donuts from? Are those?
So okay, this question is more directed towards Abby. She's the donut aficionado in the group, but she went to Portland not too long ago, and I know that she took quite a few photos of donuts in Portland, and like of course Tim Hortons, the Canadian coffee staple, they do all sorts of hilarious holiday donuts. So I'm not sure if that donut was from Portland during the Easter time, or if it was some donut that Tim Hortons had manufactured and that Abby was just talking about. But yeah, she loves her donuts. There's also the Donut Mill in Red Deer, which is a small, well, it's not super small, but it's a smaller city than Calgary. That's about an hour and a half from Calgary.
Right.
They got a really sweet donut place there. And I love donuts. We went and got donuts on the road, where Abby's usually on the phone, trying to, pinpoint where the best donut place is before we get to the city. And so we make it a point of venturing out and getting some deep fried goodness and cream into our bodies there just to help us through the day. So
she is the donut aficionado.
She loves it. She loves donuts, and I really love that she loves donuts, because I love donuts more now because I'm a donut boy.
Yeah,
a donut man boy.
And I got to tell you, you guys are so lucky. You got the Tim Hortons up there. We don't have them down here. We got, obviously, we got Dunkin' Donuts, and it is what it is. But they don't seem to do the magic that Tim Hortons does.
Well, it's one of those things, like you've been eating Tim Hortons your whole life, like it kind of wears off over time, because it is pretty garbage food.
Oh yeah.
The coffee kind of sucks. I mean, what you're drinking is sugar and cream. It's like the coffee is like, it's piss.
Really?
And then you add you add sugar and cream, and automatically, you're polishing a turd essentially.
Are you a coffee guy?
I do like coffee. I like really dark, strong, like Americano, like espresso. I really like really good beans that are bitter. I like really bitter coffee. So,
sure.
I'll spend a few extra bucks here and there, but there's a coffee machine at work I'm pretty content with. Yeah, we get along pretty well.
You become fast friends.
Yeah, we're pretty close buddies. Yeah, so.
And also,
you like coffee too? You're a coffee guy?
Oh my gosh. You know what? Over the years I've tried a bunch, and Death Wish coffee is my staple lately.
Okay.
Loving the Death Wish. It is I don't know if it's been out for a couple of years now, so I don't know if anybody has bypassed in the caffeine content, but this has an amazing amount of caffeine.
Yeah, that's right up my alley. I like getting uncomfortably jittery and like full on anxiety. I love that. That's how I That's how I like to feel after having 7 shots of espresso.
Nice.
Just feeling so uncomfortable. That's what the feeling I like to get.
You just feel like you're humming.
Yeah, exactly. You're floating through the day.
I love it.
Yeah.
So also on social, I have actually done this because I'm a sushi fan. I love all types, and I saw one of you guys, or a couple of you, eating sushi like off of the van or something.
Oh yeah, that was that was in Victoria. So we were waiting, it was in just on the mainland of just outside of Vancouver. We were waiting to get on the ferry to head over to Victoria to play a show there. And so we stopped and got some food. And yeah, Brett was eating. He was the one who bought the sushi that day, and he was eating it off the hood. And I wanted to check the oil, so I freaking popped her open, and the sushi almost went for a ride down onto the freaking concrete there. So yeah, lucky he was able to stuff enough into his mouth before that happened, and he has quick hands, so he was able to snag that plastic container before she took a trip to the concrete. So
I hear you.
It was pretty good. I had actually a good slice of pizza that day. I was pleasantly surprised. Went and got, I think it was just a straight veggie slice, but it was pretty awesome. Would probably rate it, I don't know, like a 6 out of 10, which is good, right? Not many pizza places get 10 out of 10, but it was for a ferry, waiting for a ferry and random vendor in that area I was blown away. I'm always down to just try weird slices here and there. So
did we get is it thin crust or?
No, it was thicker. It was like a Greek style, thicker piece. It was massive.
Nice.
Lots of toppings. Remember, it didn't have a whole ton of cheese. I like an absurd amount of cheese on my pizza. So, but once again, like I was pretty pumped about it that day, especially after, having a late night the night before and all that. So
absolutely. You got to feed the machine, my friend.
That's right.
So, okay. I think we've exhausted our food talk here.
Sure.
So I also saw on social media, you were at this venue. I thought this was really cool. That people were kind of up on the top of like a skate ramp.
Yeah.
What is that venue?
So that's SBC Restaurant in Vancouver. So they're located in East Hastings, and you walk in and they have a bar on the left-hand side, and then bathrooms, which is, another maybe 8 feet of space. And then it's just a long rectangular room that is just basically mainly half pipe. It's pretty cool. It's like there's a mini ramp on one end and then more of a full-sized half pipe on the other, and it's pretty rad. They pack a bunch of people into the half pipe, and then we just play at the back of the room.
Yeah.
To everyone standing in the half pipe, people can sit on the deck of the half pipe and they can watch the show, and it's a super awesome venue that I recommend anyone going and checking out if they're passing through Vancouver. It's SBC Restaurant. It's definitely a staple of that music community in Vancouver.
It's so different looking. When I first saw the picture, I was like, that's cool. They got some interesting bleachers. And then I just kind of scoped down and I was like, oh, that's an actual pipe. Jeez. Oh,
yeah.
That's That's pretty cool.
It was awesome. There's people skating and stuff while we were playing, and it was definitely a rad experience. Playing at the end of the half pipe and being able to look out at people rocking out and skating and sitting up having some pints on the deck. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, once again, definitely recommend checking out SBC Restaurant.
And if you're going to recommend a few venues, especially for some bands that are in the U.S. that want to go to Canada, what venues would you suggest that they seek out?
Well, so in Calgary, I'll just speak to Calgary specifically.
Sure.
The Palomino is one of the big ones that they bring in a lot of touring bands, support local bands as well. And then, of course, there's Broken City too. Those are kind of the two main venues that we play shows at. And then there's other ones as well, like Commonwealth and yeah, I mean, funny enough, we played at Tubby Dog on Wednesday for Sled Island, which is like it's a hot dog. We don't want to call it a hot dog stand. We'll call it a hot dog restaurant where they have these crazy dogs these crazy boiled dogs with gnarly toppings like, chili and chips and cheese on one. They have like a sumo, which is more of like an Asian style, Asian inspired dog, and it's just all over the place, and you're playing hitting drums and you're smelling like hot dog juice and propane, and it's pretty fun. It's a cool venue to play. But yeah,
and that's the new thing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, that's it. There's other venues, but I think the two biggest ones to note are Broken City and the Palomino for touring bands coming through. Those are the two venues you'd want to get hold of in Calgary specifically. Yeah,
I just can't believe, like, if I'm a kid and somebody was to tell me, hey, when you get older, there's going to be like artisan gourmet hot dog restaurants, I would never believe it. We have one here, and it's in like a higher end shopping center, and I'm like, really? Okay, I guess that's where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm happy about it.
Okay, now I got just one more quick side question, and then I think it would be time to get into Sideways in Time. Are you a TV watcher?
I watch a little bit. Like I don't have a TV, but I watch, Netflix and Crave and stuff. So, I just watched the Chernobyl series there. It was pretty rad. And, like cable TV, no, but like Netflix and Crave series is yes, I watch those.
Okay. Maybe this would be quicker. I'll ask for a thumbs up or thumbs down. Because there was a show years ago. I asked another band, Pink Cocoon. I don't know if you know them, Mark Zola, and I asked him about a show called Corner Gas, and he said he hadn't heard.
Yeah.
Are you familiar?
I've heard of Corner Gas. Yeah, I know of Corner Gas. That's definitely a Canadian show that I'm aware of. I've never watched it, but I'm definitely. I know there's some diehard fans out there. They have a cult following, and I've heard that it's good, but I have not seen an episode.
Okay, so I'm going to run through these. Just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, or if you got something to tell me about them. Okay.
Sure.
Rookie Blue.
I'm going to go with thumb sideways, a neutral, because I've never seen it.
Okay.
So I don't have an opinion.
Orphan Black.
Another sideways thumb.
Okay. Continuum.
Sideways thumb.
Bellevue.
Sideways thumb.
Motive.
Sideways thumb.
Okay. Letter Kenny.
Thumbs up. Letter Kenny is a good show. Yeah.
That's one to check out.
Yeah, that is one to definitely check out. Yeah, it's a hilarious show.
Okay, Kim's Convenience.
Sideways thumb.
Second Gen.
Sideways thumb.
And Baroness von Sketch Show.
Sideways thumb. I haven't heard of any of those except for the first one, Corner Gas, you mentioned, and Letter Kenny. That's it.
So this is what we've learned here. This gentleman is all about his music. And, well, donuts too, and hot dogs, but music. And that is what we're going to get into. Now, let's give a little chat about Sideways in Time. How did this come together? And would you mind if I went track by track, after a little bit to see what we could discuss?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. So how did everything start to come together for Sideways in Time?
Oh, so me and Darty, Brett, and I, we wrote 7 of the 8 songs leading up to meeting Abby. And so we were just, and then even just to give you more context, for about a decade before, we just we just jammed together at parties. We'd rehearse Sabbath covers, and we'd throw together ad hoc cover bands, and we'd play in those bands. And then all of a sudden we were like, well, maybe we should just try writing some songs. So it took us, the better half of a year to write the 7 songs, and we were recording demos and getting those together. So then we decided to, start looking for a singer. And then we got hold of Abby. I think it was Jan or February of 2018. And so she basically joined. And in September, the first week of September of 2018, we recorded the album. So it took her, a few months to several months for her to write all the lyrics and get stuff together. So she worked really hard to kind of write the music, or write the lyrics to the music that was already created. And then the 8th song we wrote collectively. So we had the 8-song album there pretty much, written in about a year. And then, we had it, went into the studio in September. We went to OCL Studios, which is just outside of Calgary. And I want to say it's cool. It's a cool studio because they have kind of a unique take on recording albums, right? You can go out there and you can actually live at the recording studio for the entirety of the time that you're recording. So we did 9 days out there. And so we lived there, cooked there. They got they have a pool out there. It's like this big house in the middle of the prairies. And so, every morning you get up, have breakfast, and then I go down. We, of course, started the process by tracking drums. So we do a couple songs a day.
Right.
And then you go into the pool and have a couple wobblies, a couple whiskey Pepsis, and then...
okay, hold on a second. Hold on. Wait. What is a wobbly?
A wobbly pop? It could be anything. It's just an alcoholic beverage. It's maybe more Canadian slang, but
I got to write that down.
Yeah. So that studio too is they built it. I'm not sure what year, but they built it for it to be acoustically sound. So they did. I know they did a whole bunch of work to make sure that their Studio A was world class. They did all sorts of stuff. They have a Neve console there. They have an array of offboard gear. I used 2 drum kits to record the album. So on some of the songs, just to really push those dynamics, I would record on a smaller jazz kit.
Right.
And then on like the bigger, more intense parts, I would switch back over to the full rock kit. And there's a lot of other smaller details that went into the drum recording and the recording altogether. But really, that studio is just equipped with everything and beyond that you'll need to get the job done. And Josh Gwillem engineered and produced the album and did a phenomenal job of it. So
phenomenal job indeed. It is just a great release. And let me tell you something. Obviously, we could talk about Abby's voice, but the drumming, it just filled up the space right away. I mean, between your playing and his producing, engineering, I can't believe that this is a debut, because it sounds like this has been a band that's been around forever. And on top of it, when you say, it took a while, it took a year, I mean, this is old school. This is like in the 70s, like people would release an album a year, and probably not as long as this one. And you all collectively just did an amazing job putting this all together. I just can't tell you how much I've loved this release.
Thank you. Yeah, we really worked hard to make sure that we had a consistent jam schedule, and we made sure that we were prepared going in. We knew what we wanted. Like I knew what I wanted for drum sounds, and or at least ballpark it. And I know everybody has their specific sound. So I mean, going into the studio on all fronts, we really had our bases covered. But Josh, you bring good ideas to the table, and Josh can take them to the next level as far as production and engineering tricks are concerned.
Absolutely.
He employed a lot of really interesting mic techniques. He knew what mics would be good for Abby, what mic would be good for Abby's voice. He knew, what mics to use on the kit to get the specific sound that we wanted, which was just a huge sound. Like he had some, room mics, like Neumann U47 room mics, and he had, all sorts of spot mics on the one kit, and we kind of stripped down the mic setup for the jazz kit. I think we only had 3 mics on the jazz kit, and then the other one was just loaded with mics. But he knew what we wanted to accomplish, and he was able to use the studio as a tool to take the record to the next level where it needed to be, and that's. We can't thank Josh enough for the effort and the expertise that he brought to the table for the record.
Shout out to him. And again, like you said, I know the bands you're playing with, and the scene that we're in. There is such a heavy groove, and you're doing so many different elements, or playing so many different elements on the kit. Mm-hmm. Would you mind if we go over some of the tracks, and maybe just like, if you got a story about one, or even like just a sentence about what it took to create it?
Sure, of course.
Let's start off with the first track that opens it up with just this bomb. What can you tell me about Dazed?
So Dazed was actually the first song that we wrote. It's funny, just all of the songs were just numbered before. So Dazed was like 1, and then Deadlock was 2, and so on and so forth. Like the track listing doesn't reflect what the original numbers of the songs were, but Dazed was the first song that we wrote and recorded demos for. And it was, the first one's always special. So that one's got a special place in all of our hearts. What else about that? Yeah, like the jam section at the end is kind of reminiscent of and I'll use Earthless as a reference probably multiple times throughout our conversation. But yeah, we really like sort of the heavier groove jam sections. That's kind of always been a key feature in a lot of our songs, and a lot of our songs will continue to write. So Dazed, first song, and it's a lot of fun. It's a good warm-up song. It's not super crazy like Deadlock,
which I want to go into
a bit of a marathon.
So let's go into what can you tell me about Deadlock?
Well, Deadlock is probably one of our most diverse songs. It's all over the place. Like you have some groovier parts. You have the slower psychedelic middle section with a lot of like the faster, more progressive parts. So
Right.
you're really like Deadlock is a good song that describes the band overall, like the sound of the band. If you want to know what Gone Cosmic sounds like in all of its forms, I think Deadlock is a good song that represents that. So
Okay.
yeah.
And just to go back, I wanted you to talk about Deadlock since you brought it up right away, but the band Earthless, they got these huge, long jams. Do you ever incorporate that in your live set? Or not an Earthless track, but something where you're taking a song like Dazed or what have you, and then, it's about a 5-minute song, and then you stretch it out a little bit, let it breathe a little, or do you just keep it to the album material?
We've been keeping it to the album material. That's not to say that in the future we won't do more of a like improvised jam portion where we extend it. Like the new songs that we're writing have sort of more of that more drawn out like improvisational section where there's just a heavy the rhythm section holds down just an awesome riff driven groove, and
Right.
then Darty will do some soloing over top of it and then come back to sort of match us in that riff, kind of like what Isaiah does with Earthless. Like they'll hold down, Mike and Mario will hold down like a super heavy riff driven rhythm section, and they'll just keep riffing on it while Isaiah loses his mind on the guitar for 20 minutes. Like
it's crazy.
Like on Godspeed, that song of Earthless it's just like this freaking next level solo for so long. So I don't think we'll ever take it to that extent, but I think that there is definitely room for us, if we wanted to extend those improvisational sections and just and give her a little bit harder. But at this point, at this point, we're just playing it how it appears on the album.
Right. The first time, the first time I saw Earthless live, I heard some of the material and I was like, okay, this would be a great band to check out. And I remember it distinctly when Isaiah said, okay, thank you very much. We have one more song for you. And I'm like, wow, one more song. It's like, that's like a short set. It's only like 35 minutes, 40 minutes. I didn't know the next song was going to be 40 minutes long.
Yeah, no, they're definitely known for that. I mean, that's probably that as I'm describing like Earthless's shows are the best shows I've ever seen in my life. I really can say that with honesty that they're mind blowing on so many different levels, and your face is just glued to Isaiah and the rest of the band when they're playing. Like I've never been so I guess pulled in by a band before,
Hypnotized
like I am
almost.
with Earthless. Yeah, hypnotized. That's a really good word to describe it.
So let's continue. What can you tell me about Siren?
Oh, so Siren was a song that Brad actually came up with that sort of interesting, like I want to call it like sort of a Latin-y, I guess, rhythm that we incorporated to the beginning of the song.
Right.
And so that comes from his love for Budos Band. He's really heavily influenced by Budos Band, and I think that some of that influence comes out into the riffs that Brett writes. And so, this is it's a cool song, a really interesting rhythm to start with. And I think it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 2, 3. So it's like a 6/4 rhythm to start with. And then, I mean, the time signatures are kind of odd in that song. So, and then, I mean, that being said, like a lot of our songs have some interesting things going on as far as rhythm is concerned. So, Siren's good. We got a bit of a faster section at the end of that song too, where it's kind of bordering again on that earthlessly like heavy rhythm section, jamming with solos over top. So, I love Siren. It's one of the easier songs to play on drums, and it gives me a bit of a break to just not hit as hard and just try and regain some strength. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And you know what? That's one of the things that makes this band Gone Cosmic. Like it, I don't want to say so different, but it's like you're setting yourself apart in way of like there's. Okay, so here's the thing. When listening to this album, I'm like I don't even know what the hell you're doing. I mean, this is like it. I love when I'm listening to something, and I know there's big heavy riffs in some tracks, and with other bands or what have you. But when I hear this, it's like I don't. When I first heard it, I didn't know where you were going to go next, and I would liken that to like a comic. That instead of the joke is coming 10 minutes before, they do a misdirect, and you don't know where the punchline is. And that's what I feel with this. And I don't know. I just had to get that out. What can you tell me about Faded Release?
Yeah, Faded Release is probably our, like, if we wanted to release a single, I'll describe it like this. If we wanted to release a single ever for commercial radio, it's, I think, the song that has like the catchiest sort of chorus to it.
Right.
It's super epic. Starts out with some lighter, like dynamically lighter jazz drumming, and kind of just we're just building up the song. So we're working towards that climax, which is the chorus, and then like you described, how it's just a total left-hand turn. At the end of the song, we have a completely progressive ending where we're janking off on the guitar and bass, and the drumming is pretty crazy. And so we have we like to explore all different sort of musical genres and take those left-hand paths whenever it's tastefully possible to do so.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, Faded Release is awesome. It's really a powerful song. The ending, it always throws people off because we repeat verses and chorus. It's kind of like that normal song structure, and then at the end we pause, and then Darty and Brett come in with the proggy riff, and then I join him for like an insane ending. So yeah, that one is also kind of diverse when you look at it, but it's also got some I don't want to. Well, I guess I'll use the word. It's probably our poppiest song. It's just as far as the chorus is concerned,
right? And
sort of, yeah. It's the most. I think one of our most accessible songs. But
I was just going to say that, yeah, like a radio accessible track.
Yeah, exactly. So that, yeah, that one. It's a lot of fun to play. Some weird things going on, and that was one of the songs. Like I mentioned earlier, we recorded. We have 2 drum kits on that song in the recording. So if you listen closely, you might be able to tell. The difference between the two. I know you will. If you just listen to the snare, you'll be able to tell for sure.
Okay, yes. And that brings me up to something. We'll get to Turbulent in a second, but have you seen this video on Facebook recently? It was of, where was it? Let me think. The guy, he was playing a Gretsch drum kit at a Sweetwater Gear Fest, and he's got these 2 snares working. Have you seen this yet?
No, but I've it's sometimes common for people to have like their primary and secondary snare. Usually the secondary snare would be a smaller, we'll call it like a 13-inch diameter snare, just for accent notes. It's actually a lot more common in like reggae and dub, but
yes.
But for rock, sometimes people employ the double snares, but for me, yeah, we had, like I said, the 2 totally separate kits for this album. The one kit, I'll just talk quickly about it. The one kit was actually a fiberglass kit from the 70s. It was a Milestone kit we used for the primary kit, and then the secondary kit was a 70s Slingerland kit with smaller sizes, and it was a wood kit. So kind of 2 totally different sounds there.
I thank you for bringing that up. That was going to be a question later. I'm glad we got that taken care of. So now people know what your gear is. I like talking about gear. So
my gear is even more vast than just those 2 kits. I'm a vintage drum collector. So I have all sorts of crazy kits that I play with. The one I play with, Gone Cosmic, is it's a 70s Japanese kit that has some really crazy colors. It's like an aquamarine or sparkle, or what the hell is it? I can't remember now, but it's got a really cool psychedelic aqua satin flame is what it's called. Nice. And so Gretsch actually, that's a Gretsch color, but this whoever rewrapped it, because I think it was rewrapped with this aqua satin flame finish.
Right.
It really appeals to the eye. So but yeah, that's the kit I use for live, and then I just pick and choose for studio, just pieces that I think will be recorded well.
So if you're a collector for drums, what is one of your prized pieces?
Like the 70s Slingerland kit is in really nice shape, and it's also a really rare finish. It's a root beer sparkle, which wasn't even in Slingerland's catalogs. Actually, I did recently find a catalog that had it, but it's very rare to. So I take back what I said. It actually did appear in a catalog that I found recently, but
okay.
It is a really rare finish and it's in great shape. But I have all sorts of crazy snares that we used on the album. Even like have like a 1958 WFL marching snare, which we used as the primary snare for the album, and that one is a prized piece for sure. It's a beautiful sounding snare, and it's rare, and I really like that. But I have a 67 Ludwig Superphonic, and I could go off about that for a while. But I
bet, man.
Yeah. So I think every piece has a function, and in the studio you can't have enough drums because you just want to make sure that you're capturing the best sound possible that applies to that specific album and sound you're going for. So
absolutely, and make it unique. And
yes,
let's continue with the album. What can you tell me about Turbulent?
Yeah, Turbulent is mainly instrumental. At the end, Abby chimes in with some pretty epic vocals, but this song is more just, it's I guess we can call it like a virtuosity song. It just kind of shows off. We show off a little bit with the playing, like with our playing ability. So we, through that song's only available digitally. We didn't have room for it on the vinyl release, but
right.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a banger. It's a banger instrumental song that we just wanted to throw in there because it's awesome.
And what can you tell me about Misfit Wasted?
So Misfit Wasted is another really cool song. It takes you on a trip from, you have a psychedelic intro, you have kind of like a laid back vibe through most of the song. And then at the end, once again, we kick it up with a bit more, like we're playing a bit more metal at that point. Like we go really heavy and fast. And then it ends really crazy. That song, I really like the ending of that song because it just it's like you have your foot down on the gas pedal and then you press nitrous and then throw it into sixth gear and then you're flying. And so that's kind of what the ending of that song's like. And then we bring it back down to the psychedelic realm again. And so that song again shows off the diversity of the band, much like Deadlock does.
Right. It's almost like you cut a hole underneath the gas pedal and drop out the floor just so you can get it down a little bit further.
Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So it's a fun one to play. And once again, like in the beginning and the end, it gives me a bit of time to just chill out a bit and wipe the sweat off my forehead from whatever we played before.
True.
Yeah.
And what can you tell me about Bear the Weight?
Bear the Weight, yeah, that's a marathon for me. It's a pretty good song. I don't really stop playing for 5 minutes, and it's a fun song to play. Kind of a cool progressive part in the middle there. Like me and Brett sort of take the reins of the song and kind of ride this cool groove in the middle of the song that I like a lot.
Right.
And then we build it up and then break it down again to a slower, like riffier section, and then we bring it back to the verse again. So this song, I like it a lot. And then a cool part about this song is, we stop and everyone thinks we've ended the song, and then Brett comes back in with this really cool sort of melodic bass line that we fade the song out with. And so Sabbath did that a lot with their songs, where they would kind of bring it back for a reprise. And just kind of, surprise people, surprise the listener. Like you said, like that was kind of an unintentional thing that came out of our writing process. We just have, our Brett and Darty have just so many riffs, and we try and incorporate it in some sort of organized fashion into the songs. And so that's a good example of that. Bear the Weight.
And how about we finish it out with My Design?
Yeah, My Design, another cool song. Like cool as in it's diverse again, but it's also one of our sort of lighter songs as far as dynamics is concerned. Like it's also all over the place dynamically. So in the beginning, it's a bit slower dynamic wise. It picks up, then it drops down again, and then really that whole middle section of the song leading up until the very end where build the dynamics is quite low and it kind of jazzy and really showcases Abby's vocal ability.
Yeah, it does.
I think her in the mix, we mixed the album with Abby quite high, which we really wanted to do for this album was make Abby sort of the focal point of most of the songs, just because we obviously love her voice and want her to be showcased. So yeah, this song, I really like playing the ending of this song because I don't really play the same drum parts for this song every time as far as the end is concerned, because it's a bit more free form, and I usually improvise. We speed it up and I just improvise sort of drum parts there and just try and align with Brett more than anything. But yeah, the end of this song is completely crazy and chaotic live. And I usually make a point of really speeding up the tempo just to make it more crazy. So yeah, no, I really enjoy playing that song, and it's one of my favorites actually on the album. So
that's awesome. Well, everybody, you heard the entire album, and sometimes when I do this, I feel like I'm giving spoiler alerts away, but I think it just makes you want to go check out this album all the more. Just a few more quick, a few quick questions. You still got some time?
Yes.
Okay. Who did the artwork and who does the illustration for your merchandise as well?
So it's Christo. He was an Instagram find, actually. So we just approached Christoph and said, "Hey, look, we really like what you're doing, and we'd love it if you could do an album cover for us." So it's Christo Makatita, and so if you type Chris Makatita or Christo Makatita into Instagram, you'll find it. And his artwork is super amazing in the way of I'm trying to think of a good way to describe his work. Like, it's minimalist, but it's super spacey minimalist artwork and it's really clean looking as well. Like, I'm just looking at a couple of his works right now. Right. And yeah, we just gravitated towards the style that he does. Like, it's kind of, what's a good word for it? I don't know. It's abstract. It's astronomical. It's really cool, and it is representative, most importantly, of the band and what we do with our music.
Absolutely.
We wanted to have an epic cover, and the back cover too is even reminiscent of older progressive 70s rock bands, right? You have the staircases going into a door with space, like
absolutely
a lot of imagery that is prominent in that 70s prog scene. We kind of wanted to incorporate into. It wasn't like I shouldn't say we wanted to incorporate. It just kind of happened because we chose Chris.
Right.
Like, I'm a big prog fan, so I was really happy to see that Chris's imagery sort of harkened back to that progressive rock era in sort of a not a linear way, but indirectly kind of harkened back to it. And I really liked that we chose Chris Makatita for that. So yeah, that's who did the artwork for the album, and we're really pleased. And then we had our good friend Mario do the photos for the insert. And so yeah, thanks to those two guys for helping us with the album.
Now,
artwork.
If Gone Cosmic was to do a cover, a prog cover, what would you choose?
Like a cover of
a 70s prog rock, yeah.
I would, just off the top of my head, I'd like to do Schizoid Man by King Crimson, 21st Century Schizoid Man.
Right.
It's, a progressive rock staple that's been covered multiple times by bands out there. But I think that, starting with Schizoid Man would be good because, I don't know, it's one of those songs. It's technically challenging to play, but it's also got some really amazing rhythms and a lot of creativity in it. So I think that like Schizoid Man would be a good song to start with, or maybe we do a Rush cover because we're Canadians. I don't know. Sure. Yeah.
I just saw that there was going to be a Rush movie, or I don't know if it was like another viewing of it coming out. I got to see that. If that's on IMAX, man, I got to go check that out. Yeah, no,
that's kind of one of the follies of my concert going life is that I haven't seen Rush yet. So I need to make that a priority kind of moving forward if they come to town or if they even come nearby.
Brother, I don't even know if they're touring anymore.
Yeah, I heard that too.
But you never know. I mean, like I've seen a bunch of farewell tours, and I saw one farewell tour 23 years ago, and then they just played this year. So I don't know. Different strokes, man. So
yeah.
Speaking of seeing somebody on tour, what are your next plans for Gone Cosmic in touring?
Well, we'd like to get over to Europe at some point next year. I think we're coming up on 4 songs written for a new album, so we're still writing like maniacs and wanting to get some more material recorded. We did 2 demos this week. We recorded 2 demos, so we're already moving forward with creating the next album. So, but yeah, I mean, a goal of Darty and Brett, they've both been to Europe before a couple times with Chrongoblins, but I've never been there. So I think, a good goal for next year or the year moving forward, 2020, 2021 will be to get over there and showcase our music on the European stages. So
that'd be awesome. Now, I guess the next question for me is States. What are we talking here? You gonna come down to my neck of the woods or what?
Yeah, that's another thing. That like I did a tour with another band that I was in called Witchstone, like a doom metal band, and it was actually a heck of a lot of work to get down there with the P2 visas and stuff like that. So it would be nice to have some sort of label support to help us through the process and the amount of money that it takes to make that happen legally. Right. Because as touring bands, we got to go through that P2 visa process if we want to make sure we're above board on everything. And that's a pretty strenuous process. And then dealing with the border and, it's worth it though. I mean, when you get down there, the crowds are great and they're really receptive. And so, yeah, like the States are definitely on our radar. It's just, we haven't had that conversation yet. Like we want to go to Europe, but we would be more than happy to go to the States as well. We just haven't really talked about it and discussed our options in full yet. So yeah, the States is definitely a reality, and we'd love to come down to Arizona and melt some faces.
As well, you will, Al. I just have 2 quick things here. So when you're playing, like before you go on stage, or I don't know, sometimes I talk to bands and they say we actually practice right before. We, especially some locally residing acts, we practice in our rehearsal space, pack up our stuff, and head to the show, make sure everything's tight. Do you have any warm-ups that you do, like any warm-up songs that you might play, or you just play your own material?
Like what? Like when we
just for you specifically, just for the drums.
Like, just before we go on stage to play live.
Yeah.
Or when we're playing live. Okay. Yeah. Well, I try to. I mean, it's tough because I really don't like warming up. It's just it's kind of boring. I did warm up before the Torch Barn Burner show, where I sit there with the practice pad and just make noise for a bit and try and loosen up so I don't get cramps in my thumbs when I go up there. But
sure,
honestly, and I know this probably will hurt me hurt my tendons or whatever in the long run. But yeah, I usually just go up there and just power through the first couple songs and just, bear the pain for a couple songs. And then after, by the third song, I'm warmed up and I'm able to give her full bore.
Yeah. Muscle memory kicks in.
Yeah. But I try, there's this drummer in this band that we played with in Crooked Spies, I think was the name of the band. But he had a whole bunch of stress balls in his backpack, the drummer did. So he would bring these stress balls out and just work them in his hands before he went on stage. So he let me try it out, and it worked pretty good because it can work the contours of your hand a little bit more than just like stretching your thumbs on the table and whatever, and working on the practice pad. But for me, I think that's something that I need to work on and improve, because I don't want to cause any permanent damage to my hands, because I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and knock on wood, I don't have any pains or any weird shit going on. So try and keep it that way. So, and the guys usually warm up a bit, and Abby does some vocal warm ups and stuff too. So the other 3 are a little bit better at that game. than me. So I need to work on that and try and improve my warm up routine.
Does Abby have any funky warm up song, or does she just do scales? Or
I think she just does scales. Yeah, she just goes something like
Abby. Abby, was that you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounded just like her. Well, maybe with like laryngitis and
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Abby's not feeling too good right now. So. Yeah.
It's those fucking donuts, man. Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they coated her throat and fricked it up.
Hey, man. Marcello, thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate you talking to me, man.
No problem.
So, Gone Cosmic, Sideways in Time, Cosmic Artifacts Records. Tell everyone how to reach you on social media.
Yeah, so like you mentioned before, we're on Bandcamp, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Music. We have, the Facebook page, the Instagram. We do have Twitter. But if you wanna get in touch with us, you can email gonecosmicband@gmail.com, or you can message us through Instagram. I'm sure Facebook as well. But yeah, our music is available on all platforms. You can order the vinyl or the CD off of our Bandcamp page there, and so yeah, we'd be happy to talk with you. And yeah, thanks for the support.
Awesome. And Marcello, if you could just hang around for 5 seconds, I'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Thanks to Marcello for giving me his time. I sincerely appreciate it. We need to hear a track from Gone Cosmic. You have to hear what this is all about. This is off their latest release called Sideways in Time. This is Deadlock. thank you so much to everyone that hung out towards the end. It's doomtombpodcast@gmail.com. That is how to reach us. I sincerely thank everyone that has sent us submissions and just said, hey, what's up? Really appreciate it. At least I know people are out there, right? So we got to talk about this one thing before we go, and that is Fuzz Fest in Dallas-Fort Worth. It's going to be a 2-day event covering August 30th and 31st. Listen to some of the people on this lineup we got here. We've got Space Ape, Turbo Wizard, Stone Wolf, Diesel Beast, Crowbone, Oberon, and Red Witch Johnny on the first day. Second day, we've got Buzzard, Buzzurd, of Deities and Dust, Sunlander, Bones of the Earth, The Salesman, Stone Machine Electric. I got to get an interview with those guys. Terminus, Lady Killer, and finally, the headliner, Greenbeard. That is going to be one hell of a show. I put a link in the show notes. Check out the show notes when you can. You know, I take some extra time and anything about the conversation, I try to put it in the show notes. But this is something special. This is going to be a great show, and you do not want to miss it. And then there's an other show coming up in the Austin area that we'll get to on the next podcast. So until that time, the next time, meantime, and in between time, don't forget to stay heavy.
You got money in your pocket. You got blackness in your soul. Oh, devil man. Oh, devil man. You got money.